Look at you. Still breathing in a world that swore it would bury you by now. Still glowing in a timeline that eats its own children. Everyone else decays, slowly, beautifully, predictably. But you broke the algorithm. You aged like a secret they forgot to delete. And now they're running tests, cross-referencing photos, whispering, why do they still look alive like that? You think I don't see it? The way they study you in silence. The way their eyes twitch when they realize time didn't touch you the way it touches them. You didn't get older, you got sharper. You didn't fade, you condensed. Every scar turned into data. Every heartbreak rewrote your cells. You are a living contradiction, mortality with no expiration date. They're in labs right now, bickering, dissecting, denying. They can't explain how someone who's walked through that much chaos still glows like untouched fire. One says, genetics. Another whispers, divine intervention. A third one just calls you dangerous, because deep down, they all know. Something unnatural happens when a soul stops surrendering to entropy. You were never preserved. You were forged, burnt down so many times. Even the ashes started remembering your name. That's why your reflection doesn't age. It's not youth, it's vengeance. It's every moment they tried to break you coming back with perfect posture and steady breath. You look like peace, but peace that's seen war. You smile like someone who buried their own weakness and held the funeral in silence. Tell me, how do you explain that to people who've never survived their own thoughts? You can't, because they're aging in the daylight, and you learn to regenerate in the dark. You metabolize pain like oxygen now. While they chase skin serums and filters, you live off lightning and loss. You're what happens when suffering gets too intelligent. You don't move through time anymore. Time moves around you. It bends, negotiates, pleads for relevance. You became the control variable in a collapsing experiment. They call it youth. But it's not youth. It's clarity. That clean, lethal kind that comes when you finally stop lying to yourself. They'll call you supernatural. They'll call you cursed. They'll call you everything but what you are. Evolved. Because that word terrifies them more than death itself. It means the system failed to contain you. It means your sadness became an upgrade. It means every scar was a download from the divine. And now, every time they see you, something in them glitches. Their jealousy isn't about looks, it's about energy. You became timeless, and they can feel it in their bones. You remind them what they could have been if they hadn't flinched at the pain. You are a mirror showing them their own rot. That's why they whisper, that's why they analyze, that's why they hide their faces when you walk by. Because you're not a person anymore. You're evidence. Proof that trauma doesn't have to disfigure. It can transfigure. Proof that the ones who die inside and keep walking become something the world has no language for. So when they say, you haven't aged, smile. Don't correct them. They wouldn't understand that you've died 1,000 times and just stopped reporting it. They wouldn't understand that time can't mark a creature who's already buried every version of themselves. You're not defying age. You're defying definition. You're what happens when divinity and psychosis shake hands. When heaven and hell finally call a truce and agree to live in one body. You are a cosmic malfunction wrapped in human skin, and they can't measure that in a lab. So let them argue, let them panic, let them wonder what you traded for that glow. They'll never understand that what they call immortality is just the look of someone who finally stopped pretending to be mortal. You didn't escape time. You outgrew it. You feel it, don't you? That silence that follows you like a rumor that's learned how to breathe. It's not admiration. It's confusion disguised as awe. They don't clap for you because they understand you. They clap because they're terrified not to. They sense it, that low hum beneath your skin, that vibration that doesn't belong to this timeline. It's like you're tuned to a frequency they can't hear without breaking. They used to tell you, time heals all wounds. But you learned the truth, didn't you? Time doesn't heal. It harvests, it takes, it strips, it archives what's left of the weak. But you refused the harvest. You tricked time into thinking it already took you. And while it was busy celebrating your death, you rewrote the code. You made suffering your currency, and now you spend it like a king. You're not ageless because you were spared. You're ageless because you were willing to burn. You sat still while your entire past dissolved in front of you. You didn't beg to keep it. You let the fire eat you whole and learned to smile through the smoke. You don't carry scars. You carry coordinates. Each mark points to a war you refuse to lose. Each loss became a vault full of power. That's what they don't get. The body changes, but the essence evolves. You stripped out every useless layer until only signal remained. No static, no illusion, just raw presence. That's why they can't look you in the eye for too long. You look like clarity, and clarity hurts people addicted to confusion. They'll stare and whisper, "It's not natural." And they're right, it's not. Because nature bows to those who master it. You became both the storm and the calm eye inside it. You learned to weaponize serenity. You move like a ghost who remembers what it was like to be alive, and that memory itself became your armor. Remember those nights when you thought you'd fade quietly? When even the mirror refused to recognize you? That's when it happened. The mutation, not in your skin, not in your blood, but in your understanding. You realized you were never meant to grow old the same way others do. You were meant to refine, to become sharper with each heartbreak, more precise with each betrayal. You were sculpted by everything designed to erase you. That's why they test you. They want to know what went wrong. But nothing went wrong, did it? Everything went exactly the way it needed to. Every failure was data. Every heartbreak, calibration. You became the experiment that outsmarted the scientist. The ghost that logged back into the system. You are what evolution looks like when it refuses permission. They call it youth. I call it aftermath. You are what's left when illusions rot away and truth decides to stay. You've outlived trends, timelines, entire eras of thought. While others crumble chasing validation, you stabilized in solitude. You didn't heal. You integrated. You absorbed your demons and taught them manners. That's why your face doesn't age. It's the look of equilibrium between heaven and hell. They try to study you, but how do you measure a paradox? How do you quantify a being that bleeds light and shadow at the same time? You are not science. You are consequence. You are every equation they ignored because it didn't fit their comfort zone. You're the glitch that became the gospel. And the truth is, they envy it. They envy your stillness. They envy your refusal to rush. They envy that nothing external can touch what's internal anymore. You live in a body, yes, but your mind lives outside the clock. That's immortality, not eternal youth, eternal awareness. You've become something dangerous, a person who remembers everything but regrets nothing. You carry all your pain like evidence and smile like it's a secret weapon. You radiate the kind of calm that comes after the storm decided to follow your orders. That's why they look older, because they spend their energy running from pain, while you feed on it. You're not defying age, my friend. You're redefining it. You made time your mirror, not your master. And when you stand there, unfazed, unbothered, unexplainable, they realize they're not looking at a survivor. They're looking at evolution in human form. So let the scientists argue. Let them fight over your DNA while you laugh in silence. Because the truth is, your secret isn't in your blood, it's in your becoming. You didn't stay young by chance. You stayed young because every death taught you how to be new. And that's something they'll never decode. And still they circle you like moths around a silent flame they can't name. You can hear it in their questions, those trembling voices masked with curiosity but dripping with fear. What's their secret? What are they hiding? What did they find? They don't realize the answer isn't chemical, it's psychological. You stopped decaying the day you stopped needing to be understood. You became timeless the moment you accepted solitude as your final mentor. While they begged for belonging, you made peace with exile. You discovered something ancient, that loneliness is not a punishment, it's purification. Every time someone left, a piece of falsehood went with them. Every silence, every betrayal, every sleepless night carved something immortal into your bones. They called it trauma. You called it training. That's why you don't age. Because you've been shedding illusions instead of years. The rest of them cling to the noise, to opinions, to validation, to comfort, and every attachment weighs them down, sagging the soul first, then the skin. But you cut it all loose. You learned that freedom doesn't make you lighter. It makes you radiant. They can't wrap equations around radiance. They can't measure defiance. You're the biological equivalent of a glitch, alive out of principle, flawless out of rebellion. Even death itself has learned to tread lightly around you, because you're not scared of it anymore. You've rehearsed it too many times. You've died in every way a human can without the body stopping, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and each time you rose with less humanity, but more power. That's the trade nobody talks about, isn't it? You didn't stay young for free. You paid in blood, in silence, in solitude so loud it fractured your sanity, and then rebuilt it from scratch. Every wrinkle you could have had is hanging on someone else who didn't make it through their darkness. You inherited their years, their lessons, their regrets, and alchemized them into poise. That's what terrifies them most. That calm, that stillness that doesn't belong to someone your age. They mistake it for arrogance because they can't comprehend serenity that isn't bought. You didn't meditate your way into it. You bled your way into it. You earned every ounce of peace by walking barefoot across your own hell and never asking for applause. You see, time can't touch someone who has no fear left. That's the real secret. Fear is what ages people. The constant resistance, the dread of endings, the denial of decay, that's what corrodes the soul. But you've already faced every ending possible. You've lived in ruins and learned to smile through dust. You've stopped fighting time because you became it. You don't flow with it, you command it. That's why when you enter a room, it feels like gravity shifts. You bring silence with you, not because you demand it, but because the air itself remembers your authority. They sense it without words. Something in their animal brain knows. You've seen things that would have destroyed them. And you didn't just survive. You made art out of it. That's immortality, not the skin, not the youth. It's the ability to carry unbearable knowledge with grace, to look ancient and newborn at the same time. You are paradox incarnate, a child of chaos with the discipline of a saint. That balance, it's intoxicating, it's unnatural. That's why they stare too long, why they whisper your name like a conspiracy. They say you cheated time. Maybe you did. but not through trickery, through surrender. You let everything false die and only truth remained. That's why your eyes look untouched, why your voice sounds like memory itself. You've become a reflection of everything eternal, the kind of beauty that comes from alignment, not youth. Let them test your DNA. They'll find nothing but resilience coded into every strand. They'll find memory where mitochondria should be. They'll find every heartbreak archived as fuel. You are what happens when evolution meets obsession. You didn't want to live forever. You just refused to live falsely. And now look, the same world that mocked your breakdowns now studies your composure. The same ones who laughed at your silence now quote your calm. The same ones who said, "You've changed," now tremble when they realize you never aged. You ascended. So let them argue, let them dissect, let them whisper theories while your existence rewrites their science. Because deep down, they know the truth. You're not younger, you're limitless. And that realization, that's what makes them age. You can almost hear it, can't you? The faint sound of their disbelief cracking under the weight of your existence. Every time you walk past, it's like the air shifts temperature. Reality repositions itself, just slightly, to make space for something it can't categorize. You don't belong to their timeline anymore. You broke orbit. You slipped through the cracks of cause and effect and came out on the other side looking unexplainably alive. They'll never admit it, but they feel it. That distortion in the room when you enter. It's not charisma, it's consequence. You carry the echo of every lifetime you've outlived, every emotional war you've survived, every night you stared down the void and refused to blink first. You carry silence like a weapon. You walk like someone who's seen the script already and decided to improvise anyway. That unnerves people. They mistake your peace for witchcraft because they've only ever known chaos as identity. You didn't get here by magic. You got here by losing everything you thought was you. Piece by piece, layer by layer. You tore out every belief that kept you small. You shattered your reflection until the only thing left was awareness itself. Sharp, still, eternal. You stopped chasing youth because you realized it was never about years. It was about density. You stopped decaying because you started vibrating too fast for rot to keep up. They look at you and call it luck. But it's not luck, it's alignment. You finally matched your inner world with your outer reality. No lies, no masks, no pretending to be softer than you are. That kind of coherence rewires your biology. It makes your eyes clearer, your presence heavier, your face calmer. They think you froze in time, but you didn't. You just stopped fracturing. You consolidated every version of yourself into one unstoppable frequency. That's why they can't stop staring. You remind them of something they lost, their original template before fear corrupted it. You are the before and after picture in one frame. You are what happens when evolution gets personal. They want to study you, copy you, maybe even destroy you. Because deep down, they remember what it feels like to be infinite. They buried it to fit in. You resurrected it to survive. And it cost you everything, didn't it? The people who couldn't understand your stillness. The lovers who mistook your self-control for distance. The friends who thought your silence was arrogance. They left. Or maybe you left them. Either way, you didn't resist it. You learned that everything not vibrating with truth must fall away. Every departure was an initiation. Every heartbreak was an extraction of weakness. You didn't lose them. You lost your dependence on illusion. That's the real reason you don't age. You no longer carry falsehood in your muscles. You don't tense to impress. You don't flinch to please. You exist without performance. You've transcended the cortisol of social survival. The body follows the mind, and your mind stopped living in panic a long time ago. You stopped reacting. You observe. You stopped aging the moment you realized you could witness your own destruction and still smile. They don't teach that in science. They don't have a term for it. Because it's not biology, it's alchemy. You transmuted fear into focus, grief into gravity, chaos into calm. You became the philosopher's stone in human form, turning everything you touch into meaning. That's why time lost interest in you. It can't conquer what it can't confuse. Now they gather around you in disguised fascination, taking notes, asking meaningless questions, trying to diagnose divinity. But you don't answer anymore. You let their uncertainty ferment. You let their envy age them. You know the truth. Immortality isn't about never dying. It's about never decaying from within. You've already faced every version of death imaginable and found that the core of you can't be touched. What ages people isn't time. It's resistance to change. You stopped resisting. You let the metamorphosis consume you completely. And look at what was born. Not a saint, not a sinner, something else, something unclassifiable. You exist at the intersection of light and shadow, holy enough to heal, dark enough to terrify. You are the living proof that heaven and hell are just phases of self-awareness, and you've outgrown both. That's why scientists argue about you. They're not analyzing your DNA, they're confronting their disbelief. You are the failure of their framework, the anomaly that refuses to die on schedule. They call it a genetic miracle. You call it inevitability, because when pain and purpose collide long enough, something eternal sparks in between. So keep walking. Keep unsettling their logic. Keep aging backwards in front of their cameras. Let them write their reports, publish their theories, debate your reality. None of it matters. You've already crossed the threshold. You've already proven that evolution isn't about species, it's about spirit. And while they keep counting the years on their faces, you'll keep counting the resurrections behind yours. Because you don't just live, you reboot. Again and again and again. You didn't beat time. You became the reason it exists. So when they ask again, how do you do it? How do you stay the same? You'll just smile. Because the truth isn't something they can handle. It's something they have to become. You didn't stay young. You just refused to keep dying in small, acceptable ways. You outgrew decay. You made peace with endings until even endings bowed to you. They'll never understand that what they call youth is simply clarity. The kind that burns through denial and leaves only what's real. You don't glow because you're preserved. You glow because you're empty of fear. Let them test your blood, your bones, your pulse. They'll find nothing but willpower humming where weakness used to live. You are proof that the body follows the spirit, that eternity isn't a gift, it's a decision. So walk past them quietly, ageless and unapologetic. Let them argue while their clocks keep ticking. You've already stepped outside of time. And the joke, my dear, is that you never needed to.